right, thank you. Have a good night. Hopefully I got it. See how she sees me? She does the 3-finger hand signal, right? So they do the 3-finger hand signal, the white supremacist hand signal. Nigerians will engage in doing the white supremacist hand signal towards me also, all right, as well as you know, the white supremacists, the white racists, right? So when you look at anyway, welcome back to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience, Target Individual Programming. Right, so like I said early on in my targeting, they used to do that a lot, right? Except what she did, you know, the white supremacist hand signal, where they'll do this, right? This is what they'll do. But what she did the same thing, except she had her hands on her coat, on her jacket, right, with the 3 fingers. So it shows me that, you know, again, a lot of our, not a lot, but there's always going to be people within the you know, the black community who are agents of white supremacy and will engage in covert warfare against, you know, those of us whom are targeted individuals, or who they will target, right? And again, I just, you know, proven certain things, right? You know, the stalking, you know, the harassment, even Pam. So when I was leaving, you know, when she came in the house, she had changed. She came in the living room and she was wearing a different color pants, right? Then as I was leaving, I slept for about an hour because, again, the remote neural monitoring, sometimes it just, you know, it becomes, my brain is tired. So it just knocks me out, right? Even though physically I'm not tired, because let me tell you something, I guess, you know, when I get insomnia, I'll stay up till, the most I've stayed up was 48 hours. I hadn't slept for 2 days. I had to force myself to go to sleep. I was taking melatonin, you know, until eventually I fell asleep, because I know how important it is for sleep. And I know how, you know, if you don't get enough sleep, you know, your brain, it affects your brain negatively. It affects your psychology, right? You experience what is called psychosis. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah. Would you have $1.58? That is what I am short on getting me and my brother's food. Please.
I don't have any change. You know, why do they do this? I'm gonna tell you guys why they do this, okay? And of course, they send them because, you know, he's asking me for money, but he's raising his voice like and giving me this mean look. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. That's not how you ask for money. You know what I'm saying? But they do that from time to time because, you know, earlier on today also they were sending me subliminal message about, you know, we're not gonna give you no more help. I'm like, what help am I getting? And I was talking about, you know, the good people who are trying to figure out and understand what's going on and who are fighting back against, you know, these wicked ass people, right? But in terms of, I talk about how they send me subliminal message. They do the good cop, bad cop thing, right? Trying to, you know, play me, you know, but because early, you know, I wouldn't say early on, but a year into my targeting, when I started to piece stuff together, right? A year into my targeting, when I started to piece stuff together, look, what we have here in the license plate, right? KZJ6683. See the letter K again, right? So I guess K, you know, the king, right? Yeah, okay, I'm the king, yeah. Yeah, I am a king. But again, I want to show you guys throughout the day how they will introduce and how they engage in programming, right? But except whatever they put into my subconscious mind, you know, I change it around. So the first word that came into my mind was king. And the New York Predator Department started using their sirens, right? So again, I want you to understand that. So because I start thinking like that, you know, they got the guy come ask me that for money. I said no to him. Then, you know, he come making the U-turn in front of me. You know, like I said, it's all planned. It's all, you know, this is not coincidence. This is not coincidence. Okay? This is not coincidence at all. So anyway, I mean, you're asking me for money, but you coming with this mean look on your face like such and that, but oh my God, and all this nonsense, whatever the hell he said. You know? And that's why I don't walk with money on me. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I've learned that when they do these things, it is to give me that notion that, you know, I'm giving away all my money or have you, right? That's what it is. So I walk with very little money on me, if any, right? And like I said, and there's a reason, particularly when I'm being heavily targeted. There are times when I'm walking money on me, but I never walk with anything more than probably, you know, maybe $50, $60 on me. That's it. Okay, that's it. But again, it's to create a certain narrative, right? It's to create a certain narrative. You ever watch those YouTube videos where the guy goes around, right? Where the guy goes around and he's asking people for help, right? Or can you pay this for me? Or can you give me $1, such and such? And you know, people will like nah. And then the one person that gives him money, all of a sudden he gives them back like $1,000 and shit like that, right? You know, they used to, at one point they were trying to manipulate me like that, right? But again, and it's usually because they're pocket watching through remote door monitoring through the BCI. So let's say if I have like $2 in my wallet, right? I didn't go to the bank. They'll come and send somebody to me to ask me for $1, right? So I go in for $1 in my pocket. And what that harkens back to is, like I said, early on in my targeting, when I was wanting to leave my job because I was being targeted at my job. You know, every interview that I went on to get another job, they will have white racists, white supremacists. Look at him over there with the lighter. Look at him over there with the lighter. Look at him over there with the lighter. Look. Right, all the way across the street now. Okay. But you know, so then that's where it stems from. You know, so when I talk about that, the things that they did when I was early on in my targeting, the conditioning, the programming, that was again to engage in, you know, the further conditioning or the conditioning of my mind when it comes to certain things. So, you know, needless to say that I never really got hired for those positions, even though I was qualified for that. I didn't really got hired because again, they were, you know, this is whitelisting, right? These are white supremacist whitelisting. I don't say blacklisting because blackballing. I say whiteballing and whitelisting, not blacklisting, not blackmail. I call it whitemail because that's the majority of people who do engage in these sort of things. They're white, right? So like I said, I flip it, I change it, right? Because everything that they've done that's negative, they put black in front of it. All right, you've been blackballed, right? You know you're blackmailed. You know, you're blacklisted. You know that thing. I'm like, no, black people don't run the society to do this to the masses of people. That's white people. So I say I've been whitelisted, I've been whiteballed, and I've been white male. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna do what they do to us with Africans, right? The African language, African meaning, they flip it, right? So it becomes negative, right? This is their mindset. They're always anti-African in their understanding of who we are and our culture and our people, our languages, and they demonize those things, right? So I'm not demonizing their language, right? I'm putting it in its proper context because they are the ones that are in position of power. You understand? But anyhow, let's get back to the dude over there, right? So you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, again, this is what they do. You know, it's like even the other morning, my sister came in my bedroom. She was like, you know, if I have $4 now, because again, it's to leave me without any money in my pocket, right? In my wallet, right? Because again, they send these subliminal messages. That's with the curse of persuasion program, and this what? It's financial failure, right? Or they use the homeless theme and so forth. You know, I'm showing you guys in real life exactly how they do it. I talk about the sabotage. You know, the deliberate delaying of my packages for almost 2.5 weeks, when it should have just been a week, right? 2.5 weeks. Why? Because they either swap the drive, right, and they can do the whole packaging thing neat too. You know, remember the CIA used to intercept packages, particularly electronics, install software on there, spyware software, or even listening devices, and create brand new packaging that looks like, you know, the manufacturer's packaging. All right, so, you know, that's all I know. All right, so what my son today, you know, it was like around 4 o'clock. I was telling Alyssa, like, oh, I have to go do laundry. He was like, Daddy, can you clone my drive for me and install the new drive? And I said, I'll clone it, but I don't know about installing it. So I attempt to clone it, you know, and attempt to format the drive, and the drive took literally almost 20 minutes, and it still didn't format. And I'm like, wait, something's going on here. As I said 20 minutes, the New York Police Department using their sirens, right? And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So it didn't format, so I had to, stop the process because it wasn't formatting. I tried it again, nothing happened, right? So I restarted this computer, and then I was finally able to format it, right? Then when I went to clone the drive, I got an error, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Again, had to do the same thing. The drive started cloning, but then, you know, it was taking a while. Had to cancel that. Had to reformat the drive again, and then attempt to clone again. So, you know, at the time I was taking a listen to jiu-jitsu. We forgot her jiu-jitsu bag with her gloves and her belt in it. And at the time, I got to upload that video. So I was like, we're not going back, all right? Because when they start doing these things, you know, our short-term memory is affected by it. I talk about them hijacking her conscious mind, literally hijacking our minds, okay? And when I got to jiu-jitsu, I called Ethan. Now that was like, it took us about 15-20 minutes to get to jiu-jitsu. Called him, he's like, nope, it's not cloning. All right, okay, whatever. I said, cancel it. So he canceled it. When we got back from jiu-jitsu, all right, I had to reformat the drive, which again only took a couple of seconds. And then I had to reclone the drive. And guess what? It worked. Okay, it worked, right? So the reason why they did what they did is because, again, hacking into his computer, right? And on top of that, because they don't want me to take her to jiu-jitsu, they don't want to, you see, like I said, we have to understand what it is that they do, if we leave our children defenseless without any skill set to protect themselves, right? Then they're going to continue to get abused by the system and the people that work within the system. Even, the people in the community who have no, who are the Sambos and the Sambinas, the Negropeans, who are willfully or even unwittingly working with white supremacists, whether they be in the school system, in the hospitals, in whatever job market, whatever academia. We leave our people defenseless. And so when these predator police officers approach young black men and black women, they're approaching knowing that they can't defend themselves, knowing that because they got a gun and a badge, that at any minute they can take their life, right? Or they can abuse them. Okay? But if we put our children in self-defense classes and they know how to protect themselves, these cops will think twice before trying to brutalize our children. And like I tell my kids, when you guys have the skills to defend yourself, particularly when it comes to certain people, you need to put them down with the quickness, and you need to do it decisively. Okay? Don't play with them. Do not play with them. Okay? That once they attack you and you defend yourself, you put them down decisively. I'm not saying you're gonna, you know what I'm saying, take their life. I'm not saying that. You don't do that. But I'm saying you put them down, you knock them out cold, or you render them give them the harm to where they can't get up back to try to attack you anymore. And that's it. You know, because you know your skills is to help protect you. Now, if you're dealing with racist cops with a gun and a badge, you know what I'm saying, and you know what's going to happen, either they're going to try to take your life, you know what I'm saying, then you know you do what you need to do. Right? This is how we need to teach our children. This is what we need to say to our children. But we got to make sure they have the skills. If you live in a state in which you have every right to carry openly, right? You make sure that you are trained better than the police. Right? You need to make sure that you are an expert in the weapon that you are using. Right? And that when you see that they're trying to kill you, that you can defend yourself. Okay? This is the mindset they don't want us to have. So they can continue to abuse us and manipulate us and destroy us and kill us and assault us and all these things. So we need to put a stop to them. We need to stop them in their tracks, and we need to let them know that no, we're not going through this anymore. Okay? We need to stop them in their tracks. And I mean that. Like I said, they're very lucky I don't have the skill set. But they know what it is that they do, and to injure those that they consider to be a threat to the establishment. Security team. They don't look to the security team. Right? When they're the biggest security threats. Pure projection. Talk to you guys in the next video.